Very much, Director. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator King. Senator Ernst, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you both for testifying in front of us today. Director Haines, of course, we're here to talk about global threats. We've heard about China, Russia, and so forth. But earlier this week, the press reported an effort that would bring one of our global threats here to our homeland. A recent poll found that 71% of Gazans viewed Hamas's brutal attack on Israel, including the rape of innocent women, their murder of children, and their murder of and capture of Americans as, quote, the correct decision. Do you believe that welcoming a significant number of Gazans who likely are harboring these views into the United States, do you believe that that would threaten the safety of Americans?
I mean, I obviously think it is outrageous to think that that Hamas's attack on Israel was anything other than a terrorist attack that was utterly brutal and depraved. And I don't have enough information to understand, is when we analyze threats and where the threats come from and how they develop, that is something we do with great care and deliberation. And if you pointed us to, here's the individuals that we're concerned about, then we obviously would do an assessment for you.
So just broadly, though, 71% in this poll of those in Gaza support what Hamas did, and yet our president is considering an action to bring Gazan refugees to our homeland. So I know you've spent your career working in the intelligence field, but given this poll, which I would assume is factual, can you tell me for certain that this proposed action by the President of the United States won't put our citizens at risk here in the United States?
I'm unfamiliar with the poll, but I can tell you that the process for bringing individuals into the United States includes a very significant vetting process. That would be the kind of process I would expect would occur, and so therefore that would mitigate against any concern or risk that we would have.
Okay. I know that we have tried to do vetting on Afghans and other refugees as they come in. Many times that has not been successful. I'm adamantly opposed to what the president is attempting to do. So you're serving by law as the head of the intelligence community. And so you're saying basically under oath that you're really unaware of any risk that might pose to our citizens?
Sorry, what I'm saying is that if there's a process for bringing people into the United States, I'm familiar with that process, and that process is intended to mitigate against any risk of security, and that's something that I would feel confident about.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to pivot now to Hamas's backers, the Iranian mullahs. Iran is currently enjoying a golden era of oil profits. We've seen over $80 billion in oil revenues, enabling Iran to give pay raises and recruitment bonuses to its proxies, and you've discussed some of those proxies earlier. And these revenues come from sanctioned transactions, but the enforcement of the sanctions remains non-existent. Do you agree, yes or no, that the decision not to enforce sanctions has directly led to the death of U.S. citizens?
I couldn't make a sweeping statement like that, I'm afraid. I think it's no question that Iran continues to benefit from oil sales and that they look for ways to get around sanctions, and that's something we've seen them engage in, and that they are also, as you say, funding and assisting various groups in the region. I think it's also the case that, frankly, the Iranian economy is in deep trouble right now and is actually suffering significantly. It's been one of the challenges that they're facing. But beyond that, unless I'm faced with a particular scenario that we can assess for you, then we would obviously do that.
Well, what I would say is that they do back Hamas. We know that. They back Hamas. And I wouldn't even say they're trying to get around sanctions because we just don't enforce them. So there's open trade of Iranian oil. We, as the United States, have these sanctions. We don't enforce them. So a good deal of their profits, of course, will go to support these proxies. And Hamas has killed Americans. They killed Americans on October 7th. They have held 8 Americans. 3 we know are confirmed dead. They're still holding 5. So I would say that just in my mind, my estimation is that, yes, they are using the profits to kill Americans. They have done it already. I would like to see additional enforcement of these sanctions, not your area, but certainly it all ties together. So I look forward to visiting more about this, maybe in a closed session, but we have got to do better. And I'm just using this time to make a statement, too, that I disagree wholeheartedly with what the president is trying to do by taking people out of Gaza and bringing them to the United States. I have seen failures in the vetting process before. I certainly don't want to see those failures repeated. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ernst. Senator Hirono.